Mamushi is completely out of control and Konoha is now in serious danger. Mamushi's intelligence has dropped a lot and he's now making irrational decisions. His clones are becoming impatient and irritated because they cannot find Eida. If Shikamaru, Boruto and the team do not find a way to deal with Mamushi and his clones, civilians and buildings in Konoha could be destroyed. Even worse, will the shinobi on the team be able to maintain their chakra during a long battle against Mamushi and his never-ending clones? Boruto may have the strength to fight Mamushi and his clones, but he cannot be everywhere at once to defend against them. Kawaki's desire to gain power quickly has already caused problems in this fight, and now he cannot continue fighting for much longer. This means that the two of the strongest fighters apart from Demon are no longer able to fully protect Eida. The other shinobi are strong, but they're not on the same level as Boruto, Kawaki and Demon. They also do not have the same amount of chakra or fighting abilities as those three. So the question is, will Shikamaru's adjustment plan be enough to deal with the threat of Mamushi and at the same time save Eida? In today's video, I'll break down Shikamaru's plan, how the team carried it out, the unexpected details they do not know about that affected the plan, and how everything else unfolded. Mamushi has created around 200 clones of himself across Konoha in order to cause chaos, thinking this will make Eida panic and use her Senrakan eye to look around out of fear, which would ultimately reveal her location to him. However, instead of achieving his goal, Mamushi's plan has backfired. As a result, his clones are fighting each other, making irrational decisions, harming civilians, and continue to multiply. Because of this, the shinobi on Shikamaru and Boruto's team are struggling to keep up with them for much longer. This raises an important question. Will Shikamaru's plan to use Eida as a bait to lure Mamushi and his clones into one location in order to defeat them actually work? Shikamaru, Boruto and the rest of the team understand that to bring Mamushi into one place, they must give him a strong reason while making sure he does not realize their true intentions. Fortunately for them, they know Mamushi's deepest desire, to devour Eida in order to evolve. Boruto becomes the one who guides Mamushi towards the location they want him to go to. While Mamushi's clones are busy fighting and arguing among themselves, Boruto appears before them. He wants Mamushi to believe that he has already won and that they cannot stop him. So Boruto tells Mamushi that he has not come to fight. There are too many of them to fight while also protecting civilians and reducing destruction across Konoha. Since Mamushi and his clones have the ability to keep dividing into more clones, each time becoming less intelligent and more like an irrational, destructive group, Boruto makes it clear that they cannot outlast him. Boruto does this so Mamushi will understand why he's choosing to reveal Eida's location. If Mamushi learns where Eida is, he and all his clones will stop everything else and focus only on finding her. So Boruto tells Mamushi to follow him as he leads him and his clones towards Eida's location. Although Boruto and the team successfully guide Mamushi and his clones towards the intended battlefield, a large number of clones will be heading there with the intent to devour Eida. This leads to several questions. Will Shikamaru's plan succeed? Will Mamushi and his many clones overwhelm Boruto and the team? Or will the combined strength of Boruto and the shinobi be enough to defend against Mamushi while keeping both Eida and themselves safe? If Boruto and his team fail to deal with Mamushi and his clones, Eida will certainly be devoured. Does Shikamaru's plan include enough backups to handle the unexpected situations that can happen in any battle? While Boruto, Mamushi and his clones were flying towards Eida's location, new information was revealed that could change the outcome of the battlefield. First, it was revealed that Mamushi's clones might share the same visual and auditory information with each other, or there might be a single collective consciousness controlling the entire team. This means that even though there are many low intelligence clones of Mamushi trying to devour Eida, Mamushi and all his clones are still able to receive information about the battle at the same time. This raises an important concern. What will happen if Mamushi clones are defeated to the point where Mamushi regains his intelligence and becomes able to make proper decisions again? If that happens, he could adjust his strategy to deal with the combined strength of Boruto, Demon, Kawaki, and other members of the team, making it much harder to protect Eida. This is not the only issue. Boruto has also used psychological tactics to manipulate Mamushi and his clones into fighting Demon first before going after Eida. The intention behind this was to reduce their numbers using Demon's strength. Boruto made it seem like it was in Mamushi's best interest. He told Mamushi that Demon is Eida's personal bodyguard who protects her at all times, and that he has limitless superhuman strength, almost like a demon-level fighter. Boruto explained that if Mamushi tried to devour Eida first, he would still have to deal with Demon, who will become angry and seek revenge. Therefore, Boruto suggested that Mamushi should deal with Demon first before attempting to devour Eida. The reason Boruto, Shikamaru and the team shared this information about Demon was because they believed Mamushi did not know about Demon's abilities and would therefore fight him unprepared and unaware. However, this assumption was incorrect. Mamushi actually knows about Demon's ability because of Bug, who is the source of his existence. Through Bug's memories, Mamushi has learned about Demon's powers. Mamushi understands that Demon is extremely dangerous when both of his palms are touching a person, as he can reflect attacks if he senses even the slightest intent to kill. This means that Mamushi will not attack Demon without being prepared or without understanding his abilities. This leads to another important question. What would happen if Mamushi regains his intelligence, creates a strategy that allows him to bypass Demon's ability and still devour Eida? If there are too many Mamushi clones, Demon and the rest of the team will not be able to locate and deal with all of them at once, while also protecting Eida. To make matters worse, Eida is not a compact fighter, and her abilities do not affect Mamushi, which means Mamushi is capable of harming her directly. Can Shikamaru's strategy help save Eida? Shikamaru's strategy mainly relies on Demon and Sarada. His plan is for Demon to take out as many of Mamushi clones as possible, with help from Boruto, Kawaki, Mitsuki, Delta, Himawari, and the other shinobi on the team. At the same time, Sarada is meant to save her chakra for the final part of the plan. Shikamaru wants Sarada to use her Mangekyou Sharingan when there are around 30 to 50 clones of Mamushi left, including Mamushi himself. She will then apply a gravitational force to all of them, pull them towards one of the black force spheres created by her Mangekyou Sharingan jutsu, and make that sphere explode like a bomb. This will defeat Mamushi and his remaining clones all at once. However, there is a serious problem with this plan. Shikamaru does not know that Sarada had already used her Mangekyou Sharingan earlier in the battle to protect civilians from the destruction Mamushi could have done. This means Sarada might not have enough chakra left to carry out her role in the plan. What makes this worse is that Sarada did not tell Shikamaru that she already used her Mangekyou Sharingan. As far as Shikamaru knows, Sarada has only been observing the Mamushi clones from a distance and has not taken part in any fighting. Because of this, Shikamaru still believes that Sarada has plenty of chakra. He plans for her to use her Mangekyou Sharingan when the number of Mamushi clones drops below 50, so she could wipe them out in one move using her Mangekyou Sharingan ability. Until then, Shikamaru has told Sarada to save her chakra. The only backup plan Shikamaru has made is to assign Himawari and Kawaki the task of defeating any clones that Sarada might miss with her jutsu, since both of them can attack large areas at once. If Shikamaru had known that Sarada had already used a large amount of her chakra earlier in the battle, he could have created another backup plan in case she's unable to use her Mangekyou Sharingan again. In fact, only Sarada and Delta are aware of this situation. If Sarada fails to defeat Mamushi, the number of clones will likely be reduced to fewer than 50. This means a large part of Mamushi's intelligence will return, compared to when he had around 200 clones. In that short moment, if Sarada fails to do her part, Mamushi could quickly come up with a strategy. With his intelligence returning, he could create a plan that overwhelms Boruto, Demon, and the rest of the team, making it much harder for them to fight, defend themselves, and protect Eida from being devoured. Here's what happened when Mamushi reached Eida's location. Demon was able to defeat almost half of the original 200 Mamushi clones in less than a minute. Boruto used his genjutsu to take out as many clones as possible. At the same time, he told his teammates not to give Mamushi and his clones any time to think and to finish the battle as quickly as possible. Mitsuki used his Sage mode to release multiple Sage snakes to defeat as many clones as possible. Kawaki used his Kamasu to increase the power of his energy blasts and take out many clones. Himawari used her Kurama power to defeat as many clones as she could. Because of the combined efforts of the whole team, the number of Mamushi clones was reduced to fewer than 50. This meant that Sarada now had to carry out her part of the plan, using her Mangekyou Sharingan to defeat all the remaining clones. Sarada activated her jutsu and applied gravitational force to all remaining Mamushi clones. She managed to pull them towards one of her black spheres. However, before she could complete her jutsu, something terrible happened. Her body became overwhelmed due to the heavy use of chakra from her Mangekyou Sharingan. As a result, she lost consciousness while still in mid-air. This caused the gravitational force on Mamushi and his clones to disappear, along with the black spheres she was going to use to destroy them. This meant that Shikamaru's last resort plan failed. While Sarada was falling unconscious in mid-air, the Mamushi clones tried to attack her. Likely Boruto was able to reach her in time and move her out of danger. However, Sarada was unconscious. Boruto had to focus on protecting her, which took him out of the battle for the time being. At this point, apart from Demon, Kawaki is the only other top level fighter still active. Kawaki tried to use his karma to defeat the remaining Mamushi clones, but something serious happened that Amado had warned him about. Kawaki has been obsessed with gaining power quickly without proper training, by relying on shortcuts like the Karma Seal and scientific upgrades from Amado without considering the impact it might have on his body. Despite Amado warning him about the risk, Kawaki pushed his body beyond safe limits. During this battle, Kawaki's body overheated. This meant he could no longer continue fighting until his body recovered. This was shown when Mamushi's clones were able to slam him into the ground. If Delta had not saved him, Kawaki would have been defeated. Because of this, Kawaki now has to leave the battle to protect himself. At the same time, Shikamaru was finally informed that Sarada had already used her Mangekyou ability Sharingan earlier against the Mamushi clones. This was important information that should have been shared with him earlier, as he could have created a backup plan for this exact situation. Now the situation has become much worse. Mamushi was able to regain his intelligence and quickly made new adjustments. In the short amount of time he had, he created around thousands clones to fight Shikamaru's team, who are trying to protect Eida. Even worse, Mamushi still continued to create more clones. At this point, the intelligence of those clones and the ability to take damage has dropped even further. This makes the situation more chaotic as the behavior becomes more unpredictable and destructive. What is even more dangerous is how the team will protect Eida from being devoured. Boruto is temporarily out of the fight because he's protecting Sarada, who's unconscious. Kawaki is unable to continue fighting due to his body overheating. Sarada is completely out of the battle until she regains consciousness. This leaves Damon, Delta, Mitsuki, and Himawari as the only strong fighters left to defend Eida. The rest of the team are not at the same level in terms of strength and chakra. The only option for Damon is to keep both of his palms touching Eida, who is the main target of the Mamushi clones and Mamushi himself. This is important because any attempt to attack Eida can then be reflected back at Mamushi and his clones. Earlier in the battle, when there were around 200 Mamushi clones attacking Damon, their intelligence was already very low. Because of this, they fell for Damon's mocking and condescending comments. Even though they could see that Damon was touching Eida with both hands, they still attacked him. As a result, the killing intent was reflected back at them and they were defeated. Now the situation is more extreme. There are over 1000 Mamushi clones and their intelligence is even lower. Their ability to handle pain and attacks has also dropped. Because of this, Damon needs to keep touching Eida so that any irrational or unplanned attack from Mamushi and his clones will be reflected back at them. Another option the team has is for Boruto to fully use the power of his Karma Seal to defeat as many clones as possible. Momoshiki Otsutsuki has allowed Boruto to use the full power of the Karma and all the abilities that come with it. Without holding back, Boruto has the strength to take out a large number of clones as long as Damon focuses on protecting Eida. For Boruto to return to the fight, he first needs to get Sarada and Kawaki to safety. He also has to make sure that the other shinobi on his team are safe. This means Boruto has a lot to deal with at the same time. He must protect Sarada, who's unconscious, and Kawaki, whose body has overheated. At the same time, he's also worried about the safety of his sister Himawari and the rest of his teammates. At this point, it is still unknown whether Eida will be saved or if Mamushi will succeed in devouring her. We'll have to wait for Boruto to Blue Vortex chapter 33 to see how the situation develops. Until then, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please let me in the comment section which options you think the team has to save Eida and defeat Mamushi.